Uh, Dr. Rajendra Kumar, Additional Secretary MeitY, could not join us, but I think he sent a video. Can we start that, please? Thank you.
Good morning to all the fellow panelists and all the participants in this event. The theme of this event is creating a credible electronic component ecosystem in India by 2025. Let me talk about the topic in the slightly larger template of the overall theme of Digital India, which, as you would be knowing, is a very important program at the whole of government approach, where the idea is to use digital technologies for complete transformation of our governance, our economy, and our society. So as we are coming out of the pandemic now, and hopefully the pandemic should be behind us in the months to come, we are all seeing much greater adoption of digital in almost all aspects of our lives, both in our professional lives as well as personal lives. In the time to come, this greater adoption of digital or the new normal is hopefully going to stay with us, and we would be seeing increasing focus on digitalization and much higher levels of adoption of digital technologies in governance, in economy, and in our own lives. So in this context, it's relevant to talk about the importance of the electronics sector in the Indian economy. So as you may be aware, as a result of the pandemic, we have seen the adverse impacts of the pandemic on the global supply chains. There have been disruptions in the sourcing of various items. And this shows that the risk of a single source for components or for products, etc., is not really sustainable in the time to come. So both from the point of view of stability in global supply chains and for strategic regions, it is imperative that India develops its own electronic sector and becomes a manufacturing powerhouse at the global level. So what are the schemes of the government that are aimed at achieving this vision of making India the electronics manufacturing hub of the whole of the entire world in the years to come? As you may be aware, in the last several years, government has placed a lot of emphasis on improving the electronics manufacturing ecosystem in India. And a number of schemes have been announced which aim to support the growth of the sector and make India the global hub for electronics manufacturing. Most recently, as you may be aware, the government has announced 76,000 crore incentive scheme for semiconductor fab and display fabs in the country, which is aimed at making India the global hub for semiconductor manufacturing, and also for ensuring that we can become a global powerhouse in both semiconductors and display fabs. Earlier, we had also announced the PLI scheme for IT hardware. We have announced the PLI scheme for larger scale electronics manufacturing. And before that, we had the EMC 2.0 scheme, which was the electronic manufacturing cluster scheme, which again was aimed at supporting the growth of electronic sector in India. This entire effort, all these schemes that I just mentioned, which the government has announced, which have already had good impact on growth of the entire electronics ecosystem in India, they are within the overall vision of Digital India, where we want to take our digital economy from the current level of about 200 US dollar billion to at least $1 trillion in the next 4 to 5 years. This vision MeitY had unveiled in 2019, which mentioned that the goal for the next 5 years should be to achieve a level of at least $1 trillion in digital economy. And this would be a huge transformation from the share of the digital economy today from about 7 to 8% of GDP to about 20% in the next 4 to 5 years. Now that requires an approach which cuts across all the domains, not only in government, but also in the industry, in the private sector, in our own personal approach and thinking towards how digital can change our lives and livelihoods. So this requires a wholesale transformation using digital across all domains. So what are the important factors which is going to drive this approach towards the level of $1 trillion digital economy in the next 4 to 5 years? So I already mentioned about the electronic sector, which is growing from strength to strength. Today we are the world's second largest manufacturer of mobile devices in the world. We have really grown very fast in the mobile device manufacturing ecosystem. We also are increasing our share of the world's production in the electronic sector from very minuscule levels to about 3% today. We hope that this can grow to about 20% in the next 4 to 5 years. We have set a target of $300 billion of electronic sector in India in the next 4 to 5 years. That would be part of the overall $1 trillion digital economy vision. So that shows the importance that the government is attaching to the growth of this entire sector, and also shows the support that the government is willing to provide to really make this sector grow and achieve the importance that it deserves and make India the global hub for electronics manufacturing in the world. The other components of the overall Digital India vision and the vision for $1 trillion digital economy also are aimed at supporting the overall growth of the digital economy. Some of the key initiatives in this larger template, in this larger approach, they include the creation of large public digital platforms in various domains, which is going to drive the adoption of digital even further. Also going to provide the services to citizens and businesses in a much more seamless interface. One example of this large public platform is in the health sector, where the Honorable Prime Minister announced the National Digital Health Mission in 2021, where already the platform and application are in place to provide every citizen with a unique health account number, which will facilitate in provisioning of services from both the public and private healthcare providers. Similar efforts are now underway in domains like education, in domains like transport. We have already seen the new initiative on Gati Shakti, which is in the logistics sector, where the aim is to really use technology to cut down the cost of logistics and transportation, etc., across the entire country. So these are aimed at using technology in its most impactful ways to really improve efficiencies across the entire economy, across all sectors, and to allow our businesses, allow our industry to grow in a very competitive environment so that they can become the world leaders in their own domains. So the task before us, as we talk about India becoming the world's preferred destination for electronics manufacturing, the task before us is to really support our industry to grow to that level of competitiveness and grow to that size where they can rightfully claim to be the world leaders in electronics manufacturing domain. All the policy I mentioned, they are aimed at supporting that vision and supporting that kind of growth required to achieve that transformation in the next 4 to 5 years. Also, I would like to mention that the growth that we are envisaging in METI of the digital economy, that would be a much larger share of the overall GDP in the next 4 to 5 years. And that makes it even more, obvious to all of us that the digital transformation is extremely important for the country. And using technology is extremely important for all of us to really transform the way we work in the government, the way our industry is growing, and the way people they conduct themselves in their own lives. Let me also mention a couple of things which are part of this larger template of the $1 trillion digital economy vision and the larger vision of the digital India program itself. Uh, One more area where we think it is very important for us to understand the role of technology and how it can transform our governance, our economy, our society, is in terms of creating world-class digital infrastructure. So when we talk about digital infrastructure, we really would like to reach every citizen in the country in terms of providing him or her world-class connectivity, high-speed broadband, reach every part, every corner, all our villages with high-speed connectivity. This is one part. Also support the growth of emerging technologies because they are going to be the mainstay of the future digital economy. So when we talk about the emergence of these new technologies, a few areas which come to mind immediately are in terms of growing our 5G ecosystem in the time to come. Also developments in the IoT world in terms of providing quality data center infrastructure. All they are extremely important for our digital economy to grow. And all these efforts that the government is putting in to really support the growth of this entire sector is going to give rise to a very strong demand ecosystem for the electronic sector. And that is going to give the required support, the required fillip, so that the sector can grow. We also have a policy on the anvil to support the growth of data centers in India, to support the growth of cloud services. And there we also think that with the demand drivers in place for the growth of the data centers, the demand for electronics products, the high-end ecosystem will grow even further. We have also the PDP bill that is going to come in the months to come, where the emphasis on storing data within India should give rise to very strong demand drivers for the growth of the data center infrastructure and consequently the growth of the electronics manufacturing ecosystem in India. One more very strong ecosystem that we have seen emerging in the last few years in India is our startup ecosystem, especially the tech-focused ecosystem, which is really taking shape in a very strong way. And we believe that India is going to be the next land of unicorns and startups, which are world-class, which are highly competitive, and they can really make their mark at the global stage. We already have seen the emergence of 44 unicorns in 2021 alone. And this year, we already have crossed 12 unicorns in the first about 2.5 months. So that shows the strength of this sector and with the right kind of support systems in place, which the government has done in the last several years, this is going to grow only further and this is going to grow bigger. And we hope that we can reach the target of 500 unicorns in the next 3 to 4 years. And most of the unicorns will be technology focused, including a large chunk in the electronic sector. And with the scheme that I mentioned, which government has unveiled and which is available now for the entire industry to take advantage of, the startup ecosystem should grow only bigger in the time to come. And these startups are going to be the key drivers of the manufacturing ecosystem in electronics in India in the time to come. And this is where our greatest hopes lie, that our industry can really grow from a strength to strength. We can encourage new entrepreneurs to come in. We can encourage the startups to grow in this sector, which will take us to the goal of 300 billion electronics ecosystem in India in the next 4 to 5 years and reach the target of $1 trillion digital economy in the same time frame. So I think perhaps I can conclude by wishing all the very best to the participants in this event. And I really wish that all the participants take up this emerging supportive ecosystem in the right spirit and really put their own efforts in making this entire sector focused on electronics manufacturing grow in India to the level that we have envisioned. I would like to convey best wishes to all the participants to the deliberations in the event that lie ahead. And I'm sure that events like this will go a long way in generating interest in this entire ecosystem in India and help the country in achieving the vision that it has set for itself in terms of growing its digital economy and growing the electronics manufacturing ecosystem. So thank you very much.